What's up? Hey guys, today's book, today's book. Okay, let me calm down small. Let me calm down small. I just concluded the book OGADIMMA or Everything Will Be Alright by Okamaka Olisakwe. And when I say this book, when I say, has a book ever dragged you before? This book dragged. Let's say the book took me and cleaned the entire Ikeja Lagos. This book dragged me, man. I never this book. See, if it's your first time, well, forgive me. I read a book. The book has done me something. Okay, story time. Okay, first of all, welcome. Okay, welcome to Nest Telly. I am Nest. Thank you so much for coming by. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, and just share. Let us feel this pain together, I beg. So, Ogadimma is a young lady. Let me give you small story time. Ogadimma is a young lady that grew up in Kano in the, I think, late 70s and early 80s, one of them. It wasn't actually specified her date, but she grew up there. And the book starts when she was like 16 years, maybe close to 17. But she was 16 years old and she was trying to get into university to study literature. Her dad gave her the number of one guy like that, told her, "Go meet this guy," and gave her a card. She went to the guy's office, one lawyer like that, Barrister Chidi, I think that was his name. Went to his office. And somehow this guy takes her to his house and sleeps with her. She's not okay with it. There's no consent. I don't know if you understand. She's not cool with it. But somewhere in her mind, she's of the impression that after this now, I'll get to school and all that. So no problem. That's how she continues to sleep with this guy. She'll go to the guy's office, the guy will carry her to the house, she'll sleep with the guy, and you're asking the guy how far with school, blah, blah. The guy will say, "Oh, don't worry, I'm talking to my guy, I'm going to arrange school for you, story. Until one day she falls sick. She comes to the office, she's not feeling well. And the guy gives her money and says, "Oh yeah, go and take care of yourself." Of course, she didn't understand what had happened until when she got home that day. She was feeling very down. And then she's lying down and then she looks at the calendar and realizes that she's like off by maybe 3 weeks. Now, there isn't any time that was actually put into how long she was sleeping with this guy. Do you understand? And this is the first time she ever had any sexual encounter in her whole life. And we don't know how long they've been sleeping together, but somehow her baby girl fell pregnant. That word, falling pregnant, makes me laugh so much. Baby girl fell pregnant. To find out she was pregnant, you're like, what? And there's the innocence of it. Do you understand? We're talking about in the either early 80s or early 80s or late 70s. She did not know what to do. So she starts running up and down the stairs, drinking hot water, drinking lime or lemon juice, trying to see whether she can terminate the pregnancy, because she knew she was dead. Her father was going to kill her. Her mom was not around. There's no mommy. It's just daddy. She and daddy. She's an only child, and she lives in a place in Kano, one street that is supposedly more sane in Kano. That is how she now remembers that the guy had given her money. She collects the money, goes to the hospital, tries to get an abortion, gets an abortion, and the vivid explanation about how this is, like, you feel yourself cringe. Do you understand? If you've never terminated a baby or you've never even had a baby before, you would be like, "Whew." So that happened. Do you understand? You feel that. So I remember feeling that way. I was like, "Ah." When she was talking about the story, people held her down and Anyway, they shall remove this situation. She goes back home and she pretty much passes out. Her daddy takes her to the hospital and everybody discovers that baby girl was pregnant and she lost the baby. And her daddy, out of anger, like her daddy feels so betrayed and is so upset with her and feels like the best thing to do that night after she came back from hospital was to flog her. Ogadimma. They picked up in the night. The father opened the door with sticks, cane, koboko. I don't know which one is koboko and stick, but those canes, like a bunch of them, collected it and finished it on her. Finished all of them on her. Neighbors were knocking and telling her, "You will kill her, you will kill her, you will kill her. Don't kill her." She said, I brought her into this world, if she passes, that's fine. That is how they almost killed my Ogadimma for me. The next day, like her whole body was still paining her from the evacuation and from the flogging. The very next day, daddy took her to this thing, car park, and put her inside bus that took her to Lagos. And so Ogadimma life day. And I don't want to tell you the whole thing because I think you should read it. It's a good book, honestly. It's so well written and it's so, Okamaka Olisakwe. The baby writes. She wrote so well. It's such a beautiful book. But just imagine the worst things that can happen to a young girl at that age. She turned 17, I think. She turned 18. They showed an 18th birthday, but I know she was 17 when she had gotten to Lagos. I don't know what the space is. So she was imagine a 17-year-old in the late 70s in Lagos and the early 80s. She went to stay with I think her dad's cousin, I think. So it's like, just imagine what is like, imagine the worst things that can happen to a woman. At this point, I'm calling her a woman, it's no more a girl. She became a woman in Lagos. And imagine that, do you understand? Every possible thing that can happen to a woman at that time, a young girl at that time. The book spans between that her either 17 years to, I don't think she was up to 23 when the book finishes. But when I say this girl has been through it, she had been, hey, she had been through it. Like she had been through it. Hey guys, this book. She had been like everything, every worst possible thing that you can. Like it will look like small hope will happen next thing clash. And in Nigeria, now, what I loved about this book was that this book gave me insight as to how the more criminal things in Nigeria became. Now, I don't think the author was very accurate about dating the movement, like in between everything happening. She'll say, okay, General Shehu Shagari has become president. Then the war against indiscipline. So like those of us that know a little more about history, because I actually went and started doing research after, because I'm like, it's confusing. There was either I didn't read it well, or there was an overlapse of time that didn't quite work out. However, the movement of the country, it seemed to have direct impact on OGADIMMA, even though she wasn't in politics. I don't know if you understand. So it's like the time when they were moving, that's that war against discipline time, when they started moving some people to military cantonment, and they were held for months until money was stripped from them, blah blah. Somehow OGADIMMA got affected. When pastors, you know, the people from much older, like our parents, will tell you that the idea of the modern, like the Pentecostal pastor, most of the big churches now, they showed up in the 80s. What brought about that show? When that started showing up, it showed up, and somehow OGADIMMA was impacted. So it's like every horrible thing that seemed to happen in Nigeria somehow affected her life. So much that it's like, baby girl, is it only you? You know, and the thing was that because she was so young, she had lived most of her life believing that everybody had a better say in her life than she had in her life. And the book ends well, which is what makes this book amazing, because in the end, at least, you know, in the end there was relief, you know, because she now decided that, you know what, this, my letting everybody make what they think is a good decision for me, which sometimes is good, sometimes is not good, is not helping her, because in the end she just kept on suffering and suffering and suffering and suffering, like suffering in a suffering way. Do you understand? And but the good thing was that she just decided, okay, you know what, I have to start taking charge and doing things for myself. And she did. And pow, hope, good things start happening to her. And I was like, oh, thank God. This book showed me pepper, I swear. Hey, I liked the, like, yes, even the fraud, you know, the fraud when people start duping their family members, their friends, you know, when things got so hard that people start collecting money, start committing fraud, collecting money from people, saying, oh, it's for this one, and then just collect the money and miss. That's where, do you understand? And all these things were having direct impact in OGADIMMA's life. And she was taking faults for things that weren't really her fault. Hey guys, this book. There were some amazing things that were great. The importance of having great friends. You know, she had a few friends she had one friend actually that was willing to be good enough to her. Keeping relationships that may not benefit you initially is important. But more importantly, having a mind of your own. I think that feminism, when it came into Nigeria, whenever it showed up in Nigeria, if some particular people needed to feel the impact, it was people like OGADIMMA that needed it, because damn it, life was hard. Her father denied her at one point. As of when this book ended, her father told her, you're no more my daughter, and that was it. I wish you would read this book. I read it on I listened to it on script. I would advise, if you're Igbo, don't listen to it on script though, because you'll be annoyed. The person that read it did a good job of reading it, but the words were, in short, I think if you're Nigerian, you'll also be upset. But I think as an Igbo person, it will be worse, because it's an Igbo book about Igbo people. So a lot of Igbo names were wrongly pronounced, a lot of Igbo statements were wrongly said, you know, and all that. But if you don't mind, listen to it. It's an 8-hour long book. 8 hours. I read it. I listened to it in 2 days. I don't know if it's a record, but it's like I will stop and I will be like, what is going on? Please now, please now. Then suddenly I will now be like, okay, calm down. And I'll put it back again and continue listening. It was wild. Okay, so I listened to it on Scribd. It's available on Roving Heights as usual. I noticed that book, is it Book Lovers NG? I've forgotten their name now. I'll write the name here so you remember. Book Lovers NG. I noticed that they have it too. And it's available on Amazon. You can also read it on Scribd if you want. But I'll just tell you that the version on Scribd, though, if you're Igbo, my dear, tread with caution. If you're someone that gets offended when words are not said correctly, you're going to spend more time getting annoyed with that than actually listen to the book. But as of the book being good, is a good read. Oh my Lord, it's a good read. Meanwhile, I have to ask a question. Those of us that live in Lagos, I've heard a few people talk about how it's like Nigeria will be better if the military comes back. I feel like because when this girl was writing about what Lagos was like when the military took over, Lagos, I grew up in Enugu. Lagos was clearly very different from Enugu because what we're doing in Enugu was child's play compared to what's happening in Lagos. Are you okay? You that think that military should come back in Lagos, because Lagos was the state capital at the time. Now it's Abuja in Nigeria. But are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you good? Because are you sure that's what you want? Because I've heard people say, that beg, this democracy is not working. Like, let's military. Are you sure you want military to come back? Come on now. I don't know. Reading this book, I'm like, this military situation, I don't know. I don't think. I don't know that that's the best thing to do. I'm rambling on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Till next time. This book. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.